Okay, today we are doing the problem of the day for 14th of January. It is Leetcode 2657. Find the prefix common array of two arrays. So let's see what it says. It says you're given two zero-indexed integer permutations. Now, what do we mean by permutation? A permutation is anything. So, for example, one, if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, this is a permutation. If I have 4, 3, 2, 1, or something like 1, 4, 2, 3. So at the end of the day, I have a collection of numbers jumbled up from 1, 2, 3, 4. But if I had anything like 1, 2, 3, 5, for example, then 4 is missing. So 4 should have been there. So you can say um, consecutive numbers, and they can be as jumbled up as they can. Doesn't really matter, their order doesn't really matter, but then each consecutive number should be present. That's what we mean by a permutation. Then they're saying a prefix common array of a and b is an array C such that C of I is equal to the count of numbers that are present at or before index I in both a and b. To keep things very simple, let's take a look at example number one. See, so we have 1, 3, 2, and 4, a permutation of starting from 1 ending at 4, and then this is also a permutation. So if you have a look at that, if you have a look at this particular example, then let's start one by one. So let's start with index 0, then we'll go to 1, 2, and 3. See, this is A, this is B. So the first number in A is 1, and the first number in B is 3. So right now you have no similarity between these two arrays, right? So let me just create a variable count and let me initialize it to 0. What this count does is it counts the number of similar elements between A and B. So the elements which A and B both share, right? The second number in A is 3. So you see 3 and 3 match, and then the second number in B is 1. So 1 and 1 match. At this point, I should increment count to 2. Why? Because 1 and 3 are common to both A and B. Isn't it? Does that make sense? Alright. So 2 and 2, that means I should increment count by 1, 3, and then 4 and 4, 4 and 4. So count will ultimately become 4. Now what you have to do is you have to return a vector which has the same size as A and B, right? And then you have to basically, so you see at index 0 we had nothing as common. We had nothing as common. So that's why at index 0 it says 0. At index 2 we had two numbers as common, 1 and 3 both. So 1 and 3 are present in A and 1 and 3 are present in B as well. So there are two common numbers. That's why it says 2. Then index number 3 it says 3 because there are three common numbers, and then at index 3 there are four common numbers. If we take a look at this particular example, let's do this again index by index. So it says 2 and 3. So this is A, this is B. 2 and 3, nothing common. So ultimately what I'll be doing is I'll be returning uh, an array as answer. I'll be returning this, so it should say 0 over here. Why? Because there is nothing common. Then it says 3 over here and 1 over here, which means these two match. So I should say 1 over here because there is just one single number which is similar in both ends. Then it says 1 over here and 2 over here. So 1 and 1 match, 2 and 2 match. So it should say 3 over here because all the three numbers match at the end of the day. And then this is very obvious. The last number which you will have is actually going to be equal to the number of elements which you have in both the arrays. Why? Because you're talking about a permutation. So at the at the last index, every each and every number is going to be common in both A and B, right? Because obviously we're talking about a permutation. A permutation is only going to have numbers starting from 1 up and until n, so it can't have any different. So how are we actually going to simulate this through code? How can we actually count the number of common things which are in A? So what I'll do is I'll just move this picture a bit downward so that we can have a look, and then let's try to maybe think of a strategy through which we can solve this problem. what can I do? I can do something like what I need to know is the number of shared elements. So how many elements do A and B share? So let's maybe try taking a map. Let's see if something happens. So what I'll do is this is index 0, 1, 2, and 3. I'll shift A and B a bit downwards, and then let's try to think of a strategy. So I have 1 over here, I have 3 over here. So what I'll do is I'll take a map of integer, and let's see what so this is the key, and let's see what the value is supposed to be. So since one is seen in array A, I'll just push back a character A. That means one is seen in array number A. Okay. And then I'll do the same thing for B. I'll say I'll push back B over here such that 3 is seen in array B. Then let's come to the second number. We have 3 and then we have 1. What I'll do is inside this same row, I'll push back B. Why? Because 1 is seen in B and 3 is seen at A, so I'll push A over here. Now, what this lets you know is that this particular number has been seen in both the arrays, isn't it? It's been seen in both the arrays, 1 and 3 both. So as soon as you have this, what you need to do is you need to increment the count, right? So what I can have is I can have a map of what type? I can have a map of int, comma, vector of character, isn't it? Vector of character. I can have such a map. So the key is going to be an integer, and the values are going to be what? They're just going to be vector of character. Now as soon as the size of this vector becomes equals to 2, you need to increment the count, because you know for a fact that this particular number, whatever this number is, it has been seen in both the arrays, so it's shared between the two. So we are going to do the very same when we are writing the code as well. Let's have a look at how we can code this thing. So the first thing which we'll do is we'll take a map. What type of map? An int, comma, list of characters. List of characters. Then what will I do? I will just loop through each and every index in both the arrays in A and B. So let me just make a variable which stores the size of A. Alright, I'll just loop through each and every character in A and in B. So I'll just iterate till n plus, and then what will I do? I basically need to do what? I need to do something like this. So when I see 1 in A, I'll push back A against the key of 1. When I see 3 in B, I will push back B against 3 in the map. So what does that mean? How can we do this? I'll just simply do this, right? MP of A of I. What does this mean? It means A of I is currently what? A of I is currently 1, and MP is my map. So what I'll say is against this particular key, just push back A. Alright, just push back A, and I'll do the very same thing for B as well. So B of I, when you see B of I, just push back B. Alright, now the second most important thing, what did we say? When the size of this particular row reaches 2, what do we need to do? We need to increment the count. The count just basically stores the number of elements which are shared by both A and B array, right? So I can have a condition over here. If MP of A of I, whatever that uh, number is, if its size is equal to, then I'll just increment the count, and I obviously need to create the count. I obviously need to create the count variable as well, right? So count plus plus, and I do the very same thing for b as well. B, if its size is equal to, then count plus plus, and then ultimately since we are returning a vector of int, let me just very quickly create that vector of it answer, and then let's just fix its size to n, so that I can just place answer of I to be equals to count. All right. Ultimately, I'll just return my aunts array. So if we take a look at this code, if we run it, it says push back. Let me just correct this. Push back. It passes the test cases. Let's see if it passes the overall test cases as well. It does. All right. So that is what made this question very simple. What you just had to do, this is one of the ways which you can do it. You can just take a map of integer comma list of characters, and then as soon as the characters become 2, you know for a fact that this particular number, whatever it is, it has been seen in both the arrays, right? So just increment the count and place it in the array. All right, I hope you understood this question, and I'll see you with more next time.